Hello and welcome to You're Wrong About Musicals. I'm Esme,
And I'm Nell.
and today we are going to be talking about Annie.
Annie.
My bad impression of a New York accent got stopped by the
You
Wi-Fi.
just completely froze. Yeah.
I feel like that was an intervention from God, so I'm not going to do that again. But first, before we get to Annie, we have some very exciting news. So first things first, obviously, the Inspector Calls is going on a UK tour.
The biggest news of the week.
Nothing else happened. We're just going to talk about Inspector Calls. We could actually talk about Inspector Calls for like hours. So,
Yeah. It
but
is a
yeah,
really good play. If you've never seen it, I
banger
actually
of
do
a
recommend
play.
it. It's really good.
It's so good. I'm so excited. I'm so glad that it's coming back.
I
Banger.
really want to see it.
Gonna go see it. Obviously the real big news is the Olivier nominations came out, and let me just say, they were something else. Unhinged, you could say. Should we just
Mhm.
go through some of them?
Yeah, I actually haven't seen them yet. Again, I've been very busy trying to unpick this embroidery, so I've
I
kind of been offline for a bit.
I watched them come out because I was in a lecture, but we had like a 10-minute break, so I just like kind of because they just kind of came out really quickly, and then I got a fever and was like didn't think they were real. That's how insane they were. I've not done all of them because there's a lot of play categories, and I don't really have much to say about the plays. So the Olivier's are weird, and you're gonna find that out today if you weren't very aware of the Olivier's. So
I think, okay,
best
the first thing I want to say about the Oliviers
okay.
is that they won't tell you who's eligible for what until the nominations come out.
You're like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense, I guess.
Like there's some of these, like when we get to revival,
Revival,
where
I'm
it's
gonna
like,
wait to talk about because I have so much to
yeah,
say.
but some of them you're like, yeah, okay, yeah, that's definitely a revival. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I see how that's a revival. And then one of them,
One of them infuriates me to no end.
I've wrapped my head around why they've called it a revival. Like I
It makes
get why.
sense. Yeah. Like I get
It's
it.
just also not true. It's
It's
not a
just
revival.
it's just pissing me off. Like there's a long we were talking about how stuff's pissing us off this week. This is one of the things that's
Yeah, both
pissing
of us
me
have been
off.
really annoyed this week.
So yeah, so let's start with best new entertainment or comedy play, which is a weird category to bring at
Again.
Stranger Things. Oh, okay. So it's Accidental Death of an Anarchist, Stephen Sondheim's Old Friends, and Stranger Things, The First Shadow, which I really thought was going in for the play categories. Like I was like,
Yeah.
that'll be a play.
But I
And
think it
then
is slightly interactive, I want to say.
yeah, I'm not gonna see it, but like
Oh, no, definitely not.
fuck that. Um, and then Rebecca Varney versus Rooney, the Agatha Christie trial, which is stupid and I kind of love it.
I do kind of
But
want to see it,
I think it might go to Stephen Sondheim's Old Friends. I mean, it's
unfortunately. I think we do really unfortunately have to consider a scenario where it goes to Stranger Things. I don't think
yeah.
that's off the cards. I don't want it to, but I think it might.
We're about to learn one thing. The Oliviers love giving awards to plays, even in categories you would be like, what the fuck is a play doing here?
You know, like, oh, what was it? When we talked about like the Pulitzer Prize or something,
Yeah,
and we were like, they hate giving it to musicals.
they do. Same
The
with the Olivier.
Oliviers feel the same way. They hate giving awards to musicals.
They do. They would give anything to musicals. So next example, best theatre choreographer. Fabian Lowe's in For Sunset Boulevard, Ellen Kane and Haynes Langolft for Dear England, which is a play about Gareth Southgate.
I think there was choreography in Dear England, as
Yeah,
in there was choreographed movements. I don't think they danced, but
you know, you've got Gareth doing a little ditty. Arlene Phillips with James Cousins for Guys and Dolls. Like that makes complete and total sense. Um,
yeah.
Mark Smith for Big Little Things. Again, it's a musical. Like
Esme, say the
it's
title again.
oh, do I keep getting it wrong, don't I? The Little Big Things. There's a play. There's a
Thank you.
book. Sorry, called the other one, so I get them confused.
I think The Little Big Things is also a book. It's like a memoir,
Yeah,
and then they turned it into the musical.
yeah, yeah. It's based on a real life guy. And then Susan Stroman for Crazy for You, and there was like debate about whether or not she was eligible. Because again, you don't know what's eligible for what.
I
Because
keep like, okay, Bake Off.
was eligible for this Olivier season, just got completely snubbed.
Well, obviously it wasn't gonna get nominated. I'd like to see it for choreography. The way they moved that tent around, I think that was
Yeah.
pretty good.
I would have put it in some categories over some other stuff, but apparently that's an unpopular opinion nowadays. Right now,
Oh,
God, shit. Fuck, what else can I say? This was the category I saw and went, oh my God, what the hell is going on? And I am so pissed.
there's two. Okay, two of these, I'm like, absolutely, those are
Makes
revivals.
sense. Yeah.
One of them, I'm like, okay,
The
yeah,
other one, I'm
a
like,
re
this.
technically, yes, a revival.
I'm like, this is hilarious. I love the fact that this has got an Olivier on. The other one, I'm like, wrong category. Try again.
Yeah, they should have gone into new musical.
New musical because it's disqualified it from so much stuff
I
that it
get why
deserves.
it's technically a revival,
I get
but it's
it,
not a
but it
revival.
pisses me off.
Anyways,
So,
read them out.
anyways, so Groundhog Day, Guys and
Yes,
Dolls,
technically a revival. That's chill.
Guys and Dolls, 100% a revival. Like it,
100% a revival.
yeah, Hades Town.
I get
I
why.
get it.
That,
Should I tell you why it really pisses me off? It's because
why?
it disqualifies Anais Mitchell and Rachel Chavkin from Best for musical contribution and
Yeah, it's like the reason there's a revival category in a lot of theatre awards
yeah,
is because you can change direction and stuff.
yeah.
Like the next one, which sorry, I'm reading this out for you, Esme.
No, you go
Sunset
ahead.
Boulevard is the last nominee
Yeah,
for revival. You understand why. Because the original Sunset Boulevard production had its nominations, had its wins at the Olivier's. I don't actually know if it won or what it won. I assume it won something.
Andy was there,
And
so he
then they
probably
came
made
in
some
with
cash.
yeah, they came in with a really different take on it,
Yeah,
and it's now up for best revival. The problem is, I think Hadestown should win something.
yeah. It's not
Having
going
not
to.
seen it yet, I think it should win something. It's not going to win against Sunset Boulevard.
It's sunsets for the taking.
It's Sunset Boulevard. Like, I would love to see like Groundhog Day win. I think on that list, Groundhog Day is my favorite. It's not going to win against Sunset Boulevard,
No,
which
and
is
it
fine. Like, I think Sunset Boulevard deserves to win.
yeah, like Sunset Boulevard completely revolutionized the musical. So like it is a good revival.
Yeah, it's really good. And like you see people now making jokes about in the same way after Hamilton, you saw people making jokes about how you could write a rap musical about any historical figure,
Yeah,
which was the joke. Now you're seeing people make jokes about how anything directed by Jamie Lloyd gonna have a guy walking down a street on camera. How
yeah.
much it's the best revival.
It's the
It's
best
revived
revival.
it.
It's completely breathed new life into this kind of old, kind of weird Andrew Lloyd
Like,
Webber flop.
listen, Andy, love you to death, man. Hate you actually, but love you to death.
He raised the price of Phantom Day suits, so I hate him this week.
Yeah, I am going to see Phantom again. Front row again, guys, by the way. It's for my sister's birthday.
I
I'm
was
not
a
paying.
I was about to start
But
talking shit about Cameron, and then I was like, oh, I'll go to see Labour's again soon. So
like Sunset Boulevard had its time and it's
yeah,
kind of fallen out of favor now. Like I think if you tried to put on the original production now, you'd get some people going to see it to see Sunset Boulevard.
yeah,
But like the main reason me and Esme were like, we need to go see Sunset. We never did.
we never
But the main
did.
reason we were
It
like,
was too
we need to go
expensive.
see it was because everyone was saying, this is weird. It's why we saw Oklahoma. Because Esme was like, it's weird.
Two people said to Nell, there's a Freudian dream ballet.
Like they did both see it together. It was Esme
Yeah.
and her friend. But they hadn't both told me at the same time. I talked to Esme, she said there's a Freudian ballet sequence. I said, that's really weird. I talked to her friend, completely unprompted. She goes, yeah, there's a Freudian ballet sequence. I don't know if they came up with that together or they both just
No,
thought
we
that.
actually like heard a man in the tube station talk about it. There was like the Freudian
That's
dream
even
ballet.
better.
And we were like, this makes so much sense what the dream ballet was.
That's what it is.
My friend was traumatized by it.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. But it just pisses me off because I give an A.S. Mitchell an award for that score.
I'm really excited to see it. We're seeing it in
2 weeks, 14 days.
weeks.
14 days.
From the time of recording this, exactly 2 weeks.
Yeah. I think I might cry it actually. I feel like me crying at it is a high
Yeah, I don't
chance.
think I'm gonna wear makeup or not much makeup because I think I am gonna cry.
I'm wearing my waterproof mascara.
But yeah, I'm really excited.
I'm really excited. It's gonna be a great day for me personally.
But the whole point of that was to say Hadestown should not be in revival. I get why it is because it did have, what was it, the National?
it was at the National in 2018.
This is a completely different production.
It is. Yeah.
The set moves. The set comes up and down.
I
They didn't do that at the National.
yeah, they didn't do that at the National. Also I'm so excited to see the set.
Oh yeah.
Anyway. Um
Anyways, that's enough of us bitching about the revival category. Sunset's
okay.
gonna win.
Now
If
this
Sunset doesn't win,
I want to go
I'll
to
do
Hadestown.
something.
There's no way Sunset's not winning. Like, let's be real here.
But if it didn't win,
Yeah.
what would I do? We'll go and see Mincemeat again.
We'll
If
vlog
Sunset doesn't
ourselves.
win, we will go and watch Operation
We
Mincemeat
will
again.
vlog going to see Operation Mincemeat. And we're
Yeah,
not allowed to bitch about it in the theatre.
we have to find something nice to say. And I'm happy to say that because Sunset is going to win.
Sunset's winning. There's no way in hell Sunset's not winning. This category scares me as well. Musical contribution. So it's like the score, from my understanding, it's the score and the orchestrations. So that's why we've got Guys and Dolls, Just for One Day, Operation Mincemeat. Oh my god, no. It is just orchestration and musical direction.
Yeah.
Still, fuck Operation Mincemeat.
I was gonna say because I thought it was like I don't know how to explain what I thought it was, but like changes and overview.
Yeah, no, I get
Like
exactly
the
what
idea
you
of
mean.
like Sunset Boulevard, they're not giving it to Andrew Lloyd Webber
No,
for
thank
writing
God.
the music.
He doesn't
They're
need any
giving
more
it
awards.
to Alan Williams
Yeah,
for readapting the music
yeah.
to fit
So
the new, not new
that
story, but new production.
that makes sense. Again, if Operation Mincemeat wins this, I'm declaring theatre dead.
True, that was my thing because then I was like, yeah, Guys and Dolls, they're not giving it to the original composer.
No,
They're
because
giving
guys
it
are
to the guy who's done it for this production. Just for
yeah,
One Day is a jukebox. So
yeah,
they're giving it to the guy who's matched all of these songs to the new story.
yeah,
Operation Mincemeat is there. I don't know what they did in that. The
yeah.
guy who opened Chat GPT and said, write me a
And when
contemporary musical.
and when write me the way to score this so it sounds like everything else. No, because we'll get to it when we talk about best musical. And like, if you wrote the show, then you get the award for best musical over the producers.
Yeah.
Which is very different from the Tonys. Best actress in a supporting role of a musical. Now, this was the one I guessed the most correct. Grace Hodgett Young for Sunset Boulevard. I think that just might be because of the year she's had.
I think she's gonna get it.
I there are two that I'm massively rooting for, and it's her or it's Eleanor Worthington Cox for Next to Normal. Those are the two where if they win, I will be overjoyed.
The other two, one of them I don't. Nothing against the actress. Nothing against her.
Like, okay, so the thing with Operation Mincemeat is that those actors are working hard. I said something nice.
We were saying this, I think, when we did the end of year review, where a
Yeah.
lot of the time what we say is, like with Bad Cinderella, the actor's incredible. It's Andy's fault, it's shit.
Yeah.
The problem with Mincemeat is half the actors also wrote the show.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit tough to make the distinction.
A little bit up.
But I think the thing is, you can tell, I think the actors are good. And I think the only reason you can tell they wrote the show to their strengths,
Yeah.
which I think I don't like. It puts them in a box, you know? It's like this actor likes rapping, so all of their songs are rapped.
And
This
I was like,
actor
you
likes
are a white
emotional
woman.
songs.
You're
Yeah,
a
this
white
actor likes
woman.
emotional songs, so all of them are emotional. This actor can do a really good accent, so all of their songs are in some kind of accent. So I don't want to be a bitch about it, but I really hate the show.
And then Amy Trigg for The Big Little Things. Again, I wouldn't be annoyed if she won. Like,
Say it again.
Eventually.
I have no connection to this show, by the way. Apart from like one thing.
I listened to a bit of it, and I think I've listened to her song, and her song was good. I was like, this is okay. This is good. But I did listen to her song. I listened to Amy Trigg's song and went, this is good.
It's like, I think the thing is, nothing against Amy Trigg or Zoe Roberts. I think they're definitely both very good performers. And also nothing against Eleanor Wellington Cox, who I'm about to say next. I also think she's an incredible performer, love her. It's gonna go to Grace Hodgett Young.
It's got to go to Grace Hodgett Young, yeah. No.
It's like the What's on Stage Awards. It was like, this is gonna go to Sunset, this is gonna go to Sunset, this is gonna go to
Sunset.
Sunset.
We should turn it into a drinking game. Every time
Think
Sunset
so.
get a win, we'd be blackout by the end of the night. Obviously, yeah, I'm campaigning for Grace Hodgett-Young and Eleanor Webington Cox just because, of
Yeah,
course, I'm going to campaign for Natalie from Next to Normal. And then Grace Hodgett-Young,
yeah.
I think she's had an insane year. Up next, Best Actor Best Actor in a Supporting Role in a Musical, Jack Malone for Operation Mincemeat. He's the Dear Bill guy, right?
Yeah.
That checks out.
I'm gonna say it before you even read the rest of them. I think it's going to him.
Do
He
you?
is, I will say this, he's the strongest performer. He was my
He
favorite.
is the strongest performer, and I did my prediction
Hester, I
list.
think, was really fun. I
I'm
think,
annoyed that the other woman didn't get it. Like I would have swapped her out. Swapped,
who?
the one that did all the ladies.
I thought that's who.
No, different one.
Hold on.
George Washington got nominated for an Olivier Award.
Did she actually?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
oh
know.
God, it is. Sorry. But I think, okay, Jack Malone was Hester, aside from George Washington. I'm sorry for calling him that. I just don't care to remember his name.
And that's what we like walked out of the theater and were like George Washington.
His
It's
was
just
George Washington.
stuck.
Apart from George Washington, the characters that Zoe Roberts and Jack Malone portrayed in the show were probably all of my favorite ones.
I like when I was doing my predictions, I was like,
Apart from Jean Leslie, who I
yeah,
just think was the best character in the show. I just didn't like anyone else.
Jean Leslie's not been nominated.
Yeah, I know. I'm really sad about that.
Like I would have put honestly, I'm being nice here. Jean Leslie award over George Washington. I would understand why Jack Malone was nominated because when I was doing my predictions, I was like, Dear Bill guy's gonna get a nominee, no
Yeah.
nom.
If Jack Malone wins, I'm absolutely for it. I think
We
he
have
will.
actually
I
like
already know like
blocked a
Jack
lot.
Malone's name off by heart.
We have actually blocked all of Mincemeat stuff from our like Twitter
Yeah, we
timelines
keep
because it was
blocking.
pissing
Every
us
time
off.
I see someone talking nice about mincemeat, I block them.
And it's nothing against them, it's just protecting our peace.
No, you're allowed to have your own opinions. I just don't want to see it.
Block and move on, you know?
I think that Jean Leslie was the best character in the show,
Yeah.
as in was portrayed the best, had the best songs, all of that. Her actor didn't really have that many other characters that were strong.
Yeah. 100%.
So from a performance award, for a performance award, I see why she wasn't nominated. I wish she was because I really liked the character. Did did Jack Malone also play Montague's brother, who might have been a spy?
I think
Or was
so.
that Zoe Roberts?
I don't know. It all blurs together in my mind. It's like
Jack
Anne
Malone, you
Juliet.
should have got lead actor. You were carrying the show. You
Jack
were the
Malone
best actor in
genuinely
it.
was one of the best actors in it, and I think he's the
Jack
only one.
Malone, I'm gonna unblock you. I've just realized I have a lot of respect for you. I'm gonna unblock you.
That's the highest
You
compliment.
did play, I think you did play a Nazi because they all played Nazis.
They all play Nazis.
Oh, this is the other thing. Literally because I just saw someone talk about it.
yeah.
You know how they've kind of hard launched Prince William's mistress, maybe?
Oh yes, Chumley.
Yeah, I'm really embarrassed how I know how to pronounce
Yeah, I will say, Mincemeat
her
fans,
name.
you guys are being good with the jokes for once.
I haven't seen.
Cedric Neal got one for Guys and Dolls, David Faxton for Sunset Boulevard, and Jack Wolf for Next to Normal.
Yeah.
All of these, it could go to anyone, and they'd be like, fair enough, fair play. I will say, if we're
I
gonna
think it's I'm happy if it goes to Jack Malone. I think he's gonna get it. I'm happy with that.
I would rather they get this award over others.
I'm really shocked that I've developed respect for one cast member. I didn't think it was ever gonna happen. But Jack Malone, shout out to you. Jack Malone, I hope you listen to this, and if you do, you can tell all of your castmates that we don't like them, but we like you. I'm sure it'll mean a lot.
I'm sure you guys deeply care what two random girls have to
These
say
two
about
random girls.
you, who really don't know anything.
Anyways,
Moving on. Best actor in a musical, David coming from Operation Mincemeat.
Chumley.
Who cares?
Again, he kind of just played Chumley and no one else. So
he did, and also I didn't like speaking objectively here for a moment.
Objectively,
Chumley's the straight man. Chumley's not very interesting. Because you know how
I did really like Dead in the Water. I think that was a very good song.
I don't know.
Again, very audition song.
I heard it and I went, oh my God, I was right. And I didn't want to be right.
Yeah. I think it's really weird to say the
But
actors playing only one character aren't the best ones because literally everyone else in all of these categories plays one character.
in a show like Mincemeat, I get
In
what
a
you
show
mean.
like Midspeak, like one of the kind of big things about it is there's 5 actors.
Yeah, moving on. Tom Francis, Sunset Boulevard, surprise, surprise.
I think he's gonna get it.
Daniel Mays for Guys and Dolls, and Charlie Stemp for Crazy for You.
I think Tom Francis is gonna get it.
Tom Francis is gonna get it. Now,
Headline
again,
Boulevard.
I will be willing to place money on the next category.
Yeah.
Best Actress in a Musical. Natasha Hodgkinson for Operation Mincemeat, Casey Levy for Next to Normal, Nicole Scherzinger for Sunset Boulevard, and Marisha Wallace for Guys and Dolls.
It would be crazy if Marisha Wallace won.
I don't think
I'd
no.
love to see them tell her.
Oh no, she'll be out of the house by then. So basically, the thing with Marisha Wallace is
What if she doesn't find out that she's
she's not finding out.
nominated
She's
until
not.
she wins?
Yeah. She's not finding out until she gets out of the house. So
But I
Marisha Wallace
like
is in
imagine
Celebrity
if
Big Brother.
but there's how there's a little gap between her getting out and the awards. What
Yeah.
if no one tells her?
No, someone will tell her.
What if they didn't though? What if she finds out when she wins?
She's not winning. I love Marisha
But if
Wallace.
she did,
She's
that's why
not
I want
winning.
her to win because it would be so funny.
We may as well rename this the Nicole Scherzinger Award.
It's going to her.
The only one I could be like, okay, maybe, would be Casey Levy for Diana in Next to Normal. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that as a Next to Normal stan. I'm saying that because Diana's one of those roles where if you play her, you get an award.
Yeah, it's a hard role. My only thought is,
Yes.
no, they're going to put it as revival, aren't they then? Because
What?
it's opening at the Wyndhams
Yeah,
this summer.
it's not going to be eligible next year. So it's the same. It's the same production. The thing with Hadestown is that they did wait like 5 years before bringing it back.
Which is why it's not a revival. But
Yeah,
anyways,
but yeah, the Olivier's do whatever the fuck they want. Best director.
it's going to Jamie Lloyd. Don't even
It's
read.
Ja-
Sorry, no offense to the other directors. It's going to Jamie Lloyd.
But the thing that annoyed me about this was again, I was like, why is Hadestown in revival? Put it in
Yeah.
the normal categories. Rachel Chavkin deserves her award.
Please.
Please just give Rachel Chavkin an award. She did Great Comet, and I know the British voting people have not seen Great Comet, but I want her to win. That's one of the reasons why I'm so excited to see Hadestown was because I want to see a Rachel Chavkin production.
Yeah.
Best new musical: The Little Big Things, Next to Normal, Operation Mincemeat, and A Strange Loop.
I'd like A Strange Loop to win.
Yeah, I'd be good with 3 of those winning.
I think the thing is, that's the strongest category where all of them I'm like, I would understand why
Yeah,
this one won. And I wouldn't be entire like if Operation Mincemeat wins, I'm like, fine, I guess. I personally won't be happy about it, but objectively, I get why.
I would declare musical theatre down if they won. Well, because like artistically as well, this is what it's about. It's about the book, it's about the lyrics, it's about the score. It's not about the producing.
Yeah. And I think like A Strange Loop, Little Big Things, Next to Normal, all are stronger in those aspects.
Yeah.
It's like also the one thing I think Operation Mincemeat has over the other 3
Yeah.
is Operation Mincemeat's funny.
Yeah. The rest of them are kind of really depressing.
I think A Strange Loop is like a bit funny. I know there are jokes in it.
My friend,
I think it's a bit stupid to say there are jokes in a musical. There are jokes in all 4 of them.
Our friend who went to go see A Strange Loop, she said she cried the whole time. Our friend does like crying at musicals.
Yeah.
So
I think it'd be really good if the Little Big Things won.
yeah, I'd be happy for it if it won. Again, I'd be happy for all
Yeah.
3 of those if they won.
I just don't think. But then I think about the Watson Stage Awards, and I'm like, well, it did win that. But maybe that means it doesn't have to win the Oliviers.
Yeah.
Those are the nominations, some of the nominations.
Some of the nominations. There are a lot more, but I was like, I don't really have anything to say on play.
Yeah.
It was interesting because I thought A Little Life was going to get more, and it didn't. The Little Life was massive when it was in the UK. Some other news. Sweeney Todd confirmed closing date. We kind of knew that was happening.
Yeah. It was an open secret for a while.
Yeah. Had a good run.
Yeah. It was a good production.
Starkid are doing something.
Yeah, like a, few, a week ago now when you're listening to this, a few days ago for us recording it, Mariah Rose Faith was like, oh, me and Angela were gonna drop some hints, and then John just said that he's going to a Starkid shoot. I've seen
Yeah,
a lot of theories. Some people are saying Nightmare Time 3, 2,
yeah,
3. They've done 2, so 3.
yeah.
That kind of stuff. Some are saying it's working for their new musical, which isn't going to be Hatchetfield. They're
No.
stepping away from that for a bit. It's going to be
Yes.
Pirates, apparently,
Ooh.
which I'm very excited about. Yeah, I have no idea what it is. I'm very excited. I love Star Kid.
Love
We're
you,
seeing
Starkid.
them in a few months.
We are. What if it's a video for that?
I think they do that closer. They put like
Yeah.
2, 3-ish months.
Yeah. Oh well,
So
let's make it about ourselves. Anyway. Next to normal are doing something. Please God cast album. It really seems like they're hinting at a cast album. SNL did a parody of Moulin Rouge.
it's quite funny. They sing Happy Birthday at one point.
Yeah.
No offense to the Moulin Rouge fans, that parody is just how I hear Moulin Rouge.
I listened to bits
Just
of
these
Moulin Rouge and I'm
ridiculous
just like,
songs. Like,
my next note is just Mike's gone mainstream
yeah, I've seen like multiple different people thirsting over Mike Weiss.
in public. I don't know
I
how I
mean,
feel about
respect to listen, I've been there since he was tap dancing across the stage,
that in
since he was one of
Newsies.
the Delancey brothers.
Yeah, since he was cover Jack Kelly.
I've seen it since he was a kid who killed himself for like 5 minutes of the time on stage.
And then comes back to life.
You know, he does it's like how I feel about Ethan Slater. I'm sure there's
Right.
something about him that's attractive. I don't see it.
I understand Mike Feist a lot more than Ethan Slater. Yeah, no, him in this new movie, I completely understand, but I just look at him and I go, that's an ex-newsie. Mary Poppins is doing a UK tour. I actually really like the Mary Poppins musical. Maybe I'll check out the tour. I probably won't, it'll be expensive, but maybe I will. Cara Delevingne starts in Cabaret. Apparently she's alright, but claims she still had to audition, so everything is fair. I'm Just Ken pays tribute to Gentlemen Prefer Blondes in his Oscars performance.
Yeah.
Sorry, brain blanked. I've been kind of sick this week, as we all learn when I relook at the notes and go, what the fuck was I on? Yeah. Slay Ken.
I love all these people who are like, I love I'm just Ken. What a performance. Guys, go watch a musical.
Guys, there are so many musical reference. There are so like Greta Gerwig has talked extensively about how many musical references there are in Barbie.
Yeah, like dude, you'd fucking eat up Les Mis. You'd love it.
Yeah. Go see Phantom.
Go see Phantom.
And he
Yeah,
really
what
needs the money.
it really does. One of the musicals I really like from I'm Just Ken. It is very like golden age musical. So
Go see the revival
Oklahoma
of Guys
maybe.
and Dolls.
Guys and Dolls, you'd love Guys and Dolls.
Annie is a musical with music by Charles Strauss, lyrics by Martin Chairman, and a book by Thomas Charman, and a book by Thomas Meehan. So it's based on Harold Gray's comic strip titled Little Orphan Annie, which itself is based on an 1885 poem originally titled The Elf Child. The poem's third printing, poet James Whitcomb Riley decided to change its name to Little Orphan Annie to memorialize the real life orphan that had served as inspiration for the piece. A printing error. Oh, Allie, sorry. The printing error resulted in it being titled Little Orphan Annie, thus bringing forth one of the most pervasive characters in popular culture. Harold Gray's comic strip, which borrowed a name from Riley's popular poem, debuted in the New York Daily News in 1924. Followed the adventures of the title character who was invited to stay with the extremely wealthy Oliver Daddy Warbucks. Annie's biggest adversary in this version is Warbucks' wife, the evil Mrs. Warbucks. The plot is mostly formulaic. Generally, Daddy Warbucks would go away for business and Annie would be cast out of the mansion for some reason or other by Mrs. Warbucks. She would then go off into the world, eventually with a seemingly unassailable villain, only to be rescued by Daddy Warbucks. And the idea for the musical came about when Charmin said, when you're in the business of making musicals, you look for ideas, you look for source material everywhere. At that particular moment, all of the Dickens were taken. They'd all been musicalized. And I'd found a bubblegum wrapper. I'd guess, tried to get to the rights of it. I'd read a book and give it away and ultimately ended up not giving it away. I was so taken by Harold Gray's drawings, which is interesting because in an age where people are constantly sat around complaining that there's no
Like
original
us.
musicals, we are constantly sat around complaining, yes, but we don't complain about the lack of original musicals. That's one thing we do not complain about.
Yeah, I like musicals based on stuff.
Everything's based on something. As this guy said, I thought Annie was an original character until I started researching this, and I was like,
Did you not know about Little Orphan Annie?
I knew about Little Orphan Annie, but I didn't know. Like, it made sense when I was like, oh, she's based in a comic strip. But I didn't know it, you know?
Have you done a production of Annie?
No.
Okay, but it's like the first thing they tell you. It's based on a comic strip. That's what the character is when they draw her with her like
The
it's
hair,
not an
yeah.
afro, but the frizzy red hair.
The frizzy
Little
red
Orphan
hair.
Annie.
Little Orphan Annie. Yeah, no, it made sense because I was like, that's why the vision of her with the red hair and the dress is so iconic. Charmin approached Thomas Meehan to write the book. At first, he was skeptical about the author, but eventually accepted after reading the strip. When he researched by rereading the prints, he was unable to find material that he felt could work for a musical other than the characters of Annie, Oliver Warbucks, and Sandy. As a result, Meehan decided to write his own story instead, which would be set during the Great Depression in New York City. It was inspired by the particularly downbeat era of Richard Nixon, the Vietnam War that was going on at the time, which I thought was an interesting comparison to be made. And it was also done in the 1930s because this was when all three of the writers were growing up and lived through the decade and had joy of recreating the feeling and language of the time, with there being a growing sense of cynicism and hopelessness among many Americans, including Meehan. It struck me that Annie could, in the musical, become a metaphorical figure that stood innate delicacy, courage, optimism in the face of hard times, pessimism, and despair, with her being viewed as a female version of Charles Dickens heroes such as David Copperfield or Oliver Twist. So after they'd been working on it for a while, they started auditioning it for Broadway producers, none of whom decided to invest in it. So it would go to Godspell Productions, Godspell Opera House in Connecticut, where executive producer David Prince, like the Broadway producers before him, rejected the shows. It wasn't until weeks later we realized he couldn't get the Annie score out of his head that he agreed to produce it. The show on Godspell's main stage, which opened August 10th, 1976. They used these performances to focus on the plot and work on the score. Many of the songs were removed during the production and new ones were written. For instance, the song ultimately filled by Easy Street was originally titled That's the Way It Goes. Miss Hannigan's Little Girls was originally a duet with Annie, featuring completely different lyrics, and was called Just Wait, which sucks, which is a really good idea because I really love Little Girls. That song slaps. Possibly the biggest change that came about during Annie's run in Connecticut was the casting of the leading lady. When the production began performances, Annie was portrayed by an actress named Kirsten Fingard. Cast as one of the orphans, the then unknown woman named Andrea McGirtle, playing the role of the toughest orphan. 2 weeks after performances began, the creative team made the decision to move McGirtle up to the title role. So yeah, McCartle would be up to the leading role. Although some of the bad weather made it difficult for producers to get out to Connecticut to see the show, Martin Charmin was able to produce his friend Mike Nichols to get up to Godspeed. He liked the show enough to decide to produce the Broadway production. There would be a lot of drama around Annie trying to get a Broadway house. Like, I think it would have like 3 different houses before it would eventually go to the Ulvin Theatre, which is currently the Neil Simon on Broadway. And they would have a new choreographer join the show during this time. The production would be also directed by the lyricist Martin Charmin. It would be nominated for 11 Tonys, being Best Book of a Musical, Best Choreography, Best Costume Design, Best Direction, Best Musical, Best Score, Best Performance by an Actor in a Leading Role in a Musical for Reed Shelton, Best Performance by an Actress in a Leading Role in a Musical for Andrea McArdle, Best Performance by an Actress in a Leading Role in a Musical for Dorothy Loudon, and Best Scenic Design. It would win 7 of those awards, being Best Book, Best Choreography, Best Costume Design, Best Musical, Best Score, Best Scenic Design, Best Performance by an Actress in a Leading Role for Dorothy Loudon. Fun fact, one of the Tonys, so you know how they like hand out all the Tonys to all the producers, right? For Best Musical. One of those Tonys would go up for auction and be auctioned off for $38,000. The show would go on to be one of the longest running musicals of all time, with it running for like at that current time, like in the 70s. So whilst it was running, it would go on to be one of the longest running musicals of all time, with it running 6 years and having Sarah Jessica Parker make her Broadway debut in. There's a video of her singing like Today with a bunch of other old Annies, like back in the day from when she was still in it, which is kind of cool. It would go on to have a movie adaptation in 1982 by Columbia Pictures, directed by John Hudson, written by Carol Sobetsky. The film would star Albert Finney, Carol Barnett, and Ryder King, Tim Curry, Bernadette Peters. I don't know Bernadette Peters. Edward Herman and Eileen Quinn as the title character. Annie would receive mixed reviews from the film critics, but gross $54 million on a $35 million budget. It'd be nominated for 2 Academy Awards for Best Production Design and Best Original Score. So you might be thinking to yourself, why haven't we done reviews yet? Well, it's from the 70s. It's really hard to find reviews. I found it really quite challenging to find reviews for this. I was able to find like 1. So I decided just to do the reviews for one of the revivals later on, because there was just more of a variety, but we're still going to do synopsis now and then our thoughts now before we get really into the body, if that makes sense.
A spunky orphan girl finds a home with a New York millionaire during the Depression, but must dodge the clutches of her evil orphanage mistress.
That's Annie.
Yeah, that's the one.
The thing that like I was reminded of as I was doing this was how much filler there is in Annie.
I don't think there's that much.
I was like, there was just a lot more than I thought, if that makes sense.
Like,
The
what filler?
whole New York City sequence.
I don't think that's filler.
I don't know. I was just like, I think I was just thinking about I was just like, this is the plot's different from how I remember think it is as well. I completely also, this could just be my own brain not working properly, but I completely forgot about the whole how Easy Street comes about. You know, the whole plot line of Annie.
They're gonna fake being her parents in order to try and get money from Mr. Warbucks. Yeah.
Yeah. I when I was first thinking about it and putting this together, I was like, oh, like Annie just goes to live with Mr. Warbucks and shenanigans ensue.
It's very clear to me how you've never done a production of any. These are all integral plot points.
I do really like the 2014 movie, but no, I've never done a production of Annie.
You should do one. There's got one on right now.
At my big age, I should do a production of Annie.
Yeah.
It is kind of weird that I've never done a production of Annie.
It is.
But it kind of, like, I was thinking about it, I was like, yeah, our group was always trying to be not like other girls, so we were never doing the normal children's shows. Although we did do Mary Poppins once. Another thing I find very entertaining about Annie, and I didn't really realize until I sat down and reread the plot as an adult, was the fact that FDR appears.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah, like he appears and he talks about the New Deal, because obviously it's set during the Depression. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. But it's kind of weird that he's a character in this children's musical.
Like, we were talking about it with like Newsies. Wait, who is it that appears in Newsies?
I think it's FDR.
I was gonna say, is it also FDR?
Musicals with FDR in them randomly.
Newsies musical. I get the feeling it is him.
Yeah, I think it is.
Synopsis, Act 2, end of Act 2. Governor Theodore Roosevelt.
Yeah. Because he's a New York
It's
City
before
man.
it's before he's like president. It's when he's governor of New York.
Yeah.
God, he was so that's Newsies is 1899.
Yeah.
Annie is 1930s.
Yeah.
How
No,
long did Theodore? Is it the same? Because there is another like Teddy Roosevelt.
I know it's FDR.
No, yeah, so it's different.
Oh, so they're different guys.
There's Franklin Delano Roosevelt, FDR.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's 32nd from 1933 to 1945.
Right.
There's Theodore Roosevelt, who is 26th president from
Right.
1901 to 1909.
Someone's grandpa's in, so someone's father's in Newsies, and then the son's in Annie.
Are they related? No, they're not, are they?
They just both have the name Roosevelt.
Yeah.
But back to Little Orphan Annie.
I don't like, I think it is weird that this is a constant thing in other ones too. I'm trying to think, there's another show where a president just shows up.
Oh, I would say assassins, but like that's all about assassinations.
Yeah.
So of course there's going to be a president.
I guess Hamilton to an extent. Got a few
Hamilton,
presidents in there.
there's many presidents in Hamilton.
Um,
Ragtime, I know there's who is it that shows up in
yeah.
Ragtime?
I have no idea.
Let me
I
check.
was going to say Bandstand, but no, they don't because I watched that recently.
There's no political figures in Bandstand.
No, it's surprisingly, well, it's not apolitical. They just don't have a president show up. Hold on, I'm looking up who turns up in Ragtime.
Because there's a big rally and then Sarah dies. Spoilers for Ragtime.
Spoilers. Synopsis.
Success,
Harry
wheels of a
Houdini?
dream. Harry Houdini is in Ragtime. Yes, he's a important character. They just say vice president candidate.
Archduke Franz Ferdinand?
Yeah, Archduke
What
Franz
happens
Ferdinand.
in Ragtime?
You need to listen to it. It's wild. Ragtime is truly wild. No.
Yeah. But no, there's like, I cannot remember what it is. I think the thing is, the
Yeah.
point I'm trying to make here is
Yeah.
it is weird, but I get why they do it. It's this whole, you only really see it in like American musicals. I think I've
Yeah.
ever watched a British musical where they've had like Churchill show up.
Oh my god! If
They
I'm ever,
talk about it in mincemeat. They say, "What if Churchill shows up?"
I thought for a solid 10 minutes Churchill was gonna show up.
And you know who would have played him? Jack Malone. Revenge. But
I can't believe you're becoming a Jack Malone stan.
I didn't think this was going to happen. I think it's like what they said earlier when they were like, Annie is this symbol of like hope for a better future.
Yeah.
Does someone who shows up in Bonnie and Clyde? A president doesn't show up in Bonnie and
No
Clyde.
president show.
That's
It would have
wrong.
been FDR. It would have been FDR because Bonnie and Clyde and Annie are set during the same time period.
Crazy. There's a show I'm thinking of where another president just shows up.
It's so American just to have presidents show up.
Yeah, but I think it's the thing of it's meant to be like it's a kind of political endorsement.
Yeah.
Predominantly towards Democrat
Yeah.
guys. Because it's like, hey, look, this little girl, she has hope. These newsboys, they have hope for a better future. And
These
this
newsboys,
Democratic
like,
candidate will help them.
yeah. And also, what is it? I was gonna say, also like the FDR did a big. He obviously helped the country out of the depression, but also he did a lot for the arts.
It's stuff like that. I'm literally gonna look at it. President's Day, Broadway musicals that featured presidents. If I see
know
Hamilton on this list, I'm gonna lose it.
the 1917 or something like that is gonna turn up.
1776.
Yeah, people were like,
I'd rather be right is about the Great Depression and FDR.
What is the depression?
Annie, yeah, shockingly, Hamilton,
Oh.
Assassins, shockingly. That's it.
Is that really it?
I think, okay, the thing is with Newsies is technically he's not president when he shows up. He is just a governor.
Yeah.
Hamilton, 1776, Teddy and Alice. Okay, call me Madame.
Yeah.
Or call me Madam. Apparently is that you never see him,
but
it's apparently about Harry Truman.
There is a musical with a random rogue historical figure, and I really thought it was Ragtime because Ragtime is full of random rogue historical figures.
Yeah. Am I thinking of Annie Get Your Gun?
Maybe you are thinking of Annie Get Your Gun. Another Annie.
Yeah. Which one's up in
Who's
Annie Get Your
also
Gun?
a redhead.
Yeah. The music. I guess they would also show up in the film. You'd have to assume.
Yeah, although film adaptations can be very different. I mean, look at the 2014 adaptation of Annie. I love that film.
Yeah, great film. I do kind of forget that they are real people.
Who?
The people in Annie Get Your Gun.
They're real people.
Yeah, it's based off like Annie Oakley, Frank Butler are real people.
Oh, oh my God, yeah, no. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, Annie Oakley's a real person. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like
Okay,
how in
hold on.
Gypsy, they're real people.
Yeah. No, I'm not. Like, there's not a president in Annie Get Your Gun. There's some interesting people, but there's not. Hold on, I'm on Reddit. Oh, no,
Uh,
this is just about Annie. I'm on Playbill. Hold on. I've gotten so distracted by this, but I swear to God, there's another musical that just has. Maybe it's like The Governor as well.
yeah. I think it might be Bonnie and Clyde that you're thinking of then, because the governor does appear in Bonnie and Clyde, and they're like, we
Yeah,
need to like kill Bonnie and Clyde because they've killed too many of my police officers.
yeah. It's something like that. They basically have like a president talking or
Yeah,
doing something like that. I feel like it's a show like that that I'm thinking of.
yeah,
Um, but my whole point with this entire, it's kind of used to be a symbol of hope. Like,
yeah.
hey, be happy because then the president might show up and help you out.
Then the president might end the depression, and I especially it is
But it's
interesting.
meant to be like how, because there's that whole thing about like, I'm just one person, my vote doesn't make a difference.
Yes, yeah,
It's meant to be, I think at least, that connection between the regular people and the politicians. Like that's why with Newsies, it's hey, if we all work together, we can make a difference. And
yeah.
then the governor of New York might show up and he'll become president one day. And with Annie, it's like, hey, if you have I remember why FDR shows up in Annie. He's just kind of there.
It's just about like I was literally reading the plot and I was like, oh, and now FDR's here
They
because
like go to his office or something.
yeah, and like the finale is with FDR announcing the New Deal.
Yeah, but it's meant to be like, hey, they have to do something good. I'm gonna look up why FDR shows up.
But no, in Newsies, it's kind of like earned because they spend a
It
lot
makes
of
sense.
time talking about how Jack's friends with the governor of New York.
Oh, it's meant to be. It really is. There's like this bit they show up pretend it's claiming to be her parents. Then the
Yeah,
next sentence is Warbucks brings Annie to Washington, D.C., where she meets President Franklin D. Roosevelt. And
yeah,
then the next line, Roosevelt and his cabinet are inspired by her optimism and decide to make it a cornerstone of their administration. It's meant to be that.
yeah.
Like that's why they keep bringing up these politicians. It's meant to
Uh,
be you, the ordinary person, can make a difference. Because look, this little girl, she was so happy. The FDR created the New Deal,
and ended
and
the depression.
that's American history.
And if
But
we
I think it,
all
yeah,
just
I
stay
think it's cute.
positive all of the time, then
We'll all be funny.
we'll all be fine. And it is interesting because I mean Annie first premiered in a time when yeah, the Vietnam War was happening. Nixon was Watergate, you know?
Yeah, I'll say this: they could do a pretty successful production of Annie right now. I think we're in need of it.
I've been thinking about this actually. Could you do like an interesting production of Annie? Is there like a new take on Annie that could be had?
I think the thing is, I know we were just talking about this when we were doing the Olivier Awards,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, is there a way to Sunset Boulevard Annie?
I don't think there needs to be.
Interesting.
I think the thing is, this is going to sound kind of, I don't think Annie is a deep musical.
No.
Like, I don't, like, with Sunset Boulevard, there's a lot of themes at play that you can choose to hone in on.
Yeah.
And the way that Jamie Lloyd's done it, his honing in has been on, I forget the name of the character, but Nicole
Norma Desmond.
Scherzinger's Nora
Uh,
Desmond, that's the character. Her, like, insanity and delusion.
yeah, and like the way that fame's played a role in that, I think.
Yeah, which I think is an important thing to talk about in
Yeah.
this modern age of, like, everyone becoming famous on TikTok.
And like aging and
Um,
stuff.
yeah, all of that stuff. I think that's why Sunset Boulevard, this production was very successful because it took a show that had multiple themes and decided to focus on a theme that wasn't usually focused on.
Yeah.
The thing with Annie, sun will come out tomorrow, stay happy, no matter what, and FDR will show up.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a bad thing. It's a kids' musical. It stars,
Yeah.
it's like Bugsy Malone. Like the whole thing with the
Yeah.
musical is it's kids. The whole thing with Annie is it's kids, a dog, FDR. But I think it's meant to be, like childlike optimism, all of that shit. All the adults are evil. Even like Daddy Warbucks is kind of evil at first. He's like a dick at first.
Yeah, could
And then
yeah, is there
NYC, hold on, I'm getting into this now. I'm
okay.
analyzing Annie. NYC, the reason they hype up, like you were saying, the whole NYC subplot,
Yeah, kind of rogue.
it's, like NYC, it's the American dream. That's why they have the song and they have that one soloist who like NYC. But it's meant to be like, hey, how do I put this? This is where we can make a difference in New
Yeah.
York. This is where, kids can be free to, grow up and make a difference. I don't know. It's again, there's a lot of plot holes in Annie because it's a kids' musical, but I
Yeah.
think that's fine. I don't know. I don't think every musical has to have this deep like subplot or like um meaning underneath it. Annie is just Annie. It's hey guys, keep your head up.
A lot of the score is very good. I will say that now.
Yeah,
A lot of the music is just genuinely very good. And it's fun, it's cute. I occasionally find myself listening to it, probably more than I ever expect to.
yeah.
You know?
I've I've done productions of Annie.
Yeah.
Because I'm a real theatre kid.
Okay, we were too weird. We were also singing. It's not my fault we were weird.
Yeah, but I've done Annie. I've been an orphan.
Classic.
I think I've okay, I think I've only ever done one proper production of Annie and one like showcase production of Annie where we do like two songs and a scene.
Yeah.
In the like two songs and a scene one, I want to say I was because one of the songs we did basically, I'll explain this. We had every group doing a different section of Annie, so there were enough of us to basically get the whole plot across.
Yeah.
And my group was doing a song called I Think I'm Gonna Like It Here,
Good song.
and like the scene that comes along with that. And I was playing, I want to say his assistant,
Grace.
but that might, yeah, Grace. I was playing her. And then in the actual production we did, I was an orphan and I was understudy Miss Hannigan. I never played Miss Hannigan
It was so insane the
in a
way we
song.
did it though. Like it was like the more I was thinking about it when I was putting it together, I was like, that was kind of insane. Whose idea was it to come up with like put that all together? So basically, it was like a showcase thing. And so we walk out on stage, you get 8 minutes. You walk out on stage, we're dressed in like black. How were we dressed? Black dresses, neck chiefs on, and books. And we do Hello from the Book of Mormon. Again, 12 years
Right.
old.
Jesus.
Yep. We had sung many Book of Mormon songs before then as well. So like I know the Book of Mormon, like certain songs from the Book of Mormon. I had no idea it was that risque.
Jesus.
Anyway, pass the books off to the side and someone like runs into the wings and like puts them down. And then like our singing teacher comes over like the track and goes, you guys better make this place shine like the top of the Chrysler building in an American accent, obviously.
God.
And then naturally we take our neck chiefs off and start It's a Hard Knock Life. It's one of those dances where I could probably do today. Like
I feel like every
semi
Hard
easy.
Knock Life has the exact same choreography.
Yeah, like we did like obviously we did some partner work, we did
Oh yeah.
some work with our little like neck chiefs, it was pretty standard. Then we ran off to the sides and did took off our dresses, like they were Velcro, and we were wearing
Is
underneath
this
like
the one I've seen that I have
you've
the recording
seen
of?
you've seen a video of this. Yeah, so the guys stayed on stage and ripped off their like their shirts and had like a blue t-shirt on underneath.
Jesus.
And like we all ran off to the sides and like took off, like ripped off our dresses. Again, Velcro. Um and like had like on like normal like dance costumes.
Mm.
Like they were nothing insane. They were just normal dance costumes. And then did Pump It from by the Black Eyed Peas. That's my experience doing Annie. But what is interesting about like I was thinking about this. I was like, I don't know, like, does Annie need to be Sunset Boulevard? Did?
No.
I think I would like it to be done at like Circle in the Square.
I think there are ways that could be fun to do Annie. So, as
Yeah.
like on Sunset Boulevard, I think Broadway production, you get the guy walking down the street, you get the star to be doing her little New York solo, walking through New York. That could be fun.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's anything where it's like we need a stripped back version of Annie.
No, I'm not
Or we need
saying.
like a dark and twisted one.
Oh no, Dark and
You
Twisted
know,
Annie would be weird.
I'm actually kind of intrigued by that now. Maybe we should do a
No,
dark and twisted Annie.
I would like to see people's pictures for a weird Annie.
Ago. It was on a different podcast. It
Oh,
was about this like literally a school, like a high school, who did a production of Annie, and they had it all the same as it is. Like they had Annie,
oh my
except
God,
at
yes.
the end she wakes back up in the orphanage and it was all a dream. That's dark and twisted Annie. We
That
need
is
that.
that is actually psychological Annie. Like
That's
that is
insane.
deeply insane, in my opinion. One thing I will say is I was watching a documentary yesterday about them putting up the 2012 revival on Broadway, right? Writers are like, I hate the movie. I hate the start of the movie, because the original movie. I really like that movie because I watched it a lot as a kid.
I don't
My
think I've ever
free
properly seen the original.
my
I've
free
seen the
films
2014 one.
yeah, my free films in rotation as a young child were The Wizard of Oz, Annie, and Matilda.
Matilda.
Yeah, obviously. But one thing they said was they hated the movie because of the way it opens, because it's a hard knock life, obviously, and they're like sliding down the banisters and they're laughing and they're doing all this, and the creator was like, they're not supposed to be happy. They're in an orphanage, and I was like, yeah, that is true.
That's true.
So having Annie wig back up at the end is a choice.
It's definitely, yeah, it's interesting. I don't think it's right for Annie, but to be fair, it does kind of make it make sense. Like, you know
Yeah.
what? That would be why FDR shows up.
That would be why a billionaire called Daddy Warbucks shows up. I also find it interesting
Mhm.
they're when they have Sandy be another student.
Yeah,
Sure, okay, it's amusing.
yeah.
I mean, in the
And Sally
reason
should be a dog.
Sandy should be a dog, but I get why, like, I don't know, a middle school or or primary school aren't
Yeah,
going to get a dog in. And I mean,
yeah.
if they could get away with having Bruiser be a human in the Legally Blonde revival in Regent's Park, then Sandy can be.
That's true. Sally could be a human.
Oh,
I
honestly,
think the thing with Bruiser was that he was a dog, just played by a human for
it
some
was
reason.
insane. Like, truly, Bruiser being a human was batshit.
Yeah.
I don't know what else there's to
It's
say
it's
about.
a very good musical.
It's a good musical. It stood the test of time, though, completely, and
Oh yeah.
it has ingrained itself into popular culture in a way few musicals ever do.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things. It was a good idea
Yeah,
to set it in the past but relate it to the current when it was being produced.
yeah,
Because if it had been set in the 70s while being performed in the 70s,
yeah.
I think you would run the risk of it.
Feeling a bit outdated by this point.
Yeah, like becoming outdated because the thing with it's writing it and producing it in the 70s but setting it in the 30s
Yeah,
is that you kind of already know what the historical thoughts around the 30s are.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, like, you know, the outcomes. Like, objectively, you know that, like, FDR was a good guy, that he
yeah,
did good for America. So you can write him in a positive light
yeah,
and all of that. Whereas if you were setting it in the 70s, say for some reason they decide to put Nixon in it, but they make
yeah,
him a good guy and they're
yeah,
pro Nixon, within 10 years, it would like fail because people would be like, that's wrong. I don't feel that way about Nixon. Look at all the shit he's done,
yeah.
you know?
Also, like,
Which is
there's
why
the
I think historical musicals tend to work better than modern ones.
yeah, because I think
Because you
finding
don't run the risk of changing opinions.
yeah, finding universality of a story
Yeah,
and making that be the main part of your musical compared to compared to being like, oh my God, we're the most current thing ever. I mean, a good example of this is something like Spring Awakening versus Jagged Little Pill almost. Because
Yeah,
which sounds kind of weird to talk about, but like Spring Awakening is historical, but could be seen as very modern in some of its takes and some of its subject matter. Jagged Little Pill tried to be very modern and forward thinking about every single issue, and it was like Glee, and in the process
yeah,
kind of just ended up being a bit weird about all of them.
yeah. It's stuff like if you were to produce a musical today
Yeah.
about COVID,
Oh God, no.
like set, but like set during quarantine, where it's like
Yeah.
these people, they're all alone, but they connect with each other. Ugh, stupid. I know.
Yeah.
Um, I
So
actually
kind
think
of
that would be kind of cute. I think that
some,
you could have a lot of fun with the set, you know,
yeah.
have them all on stage, but they never interact. I think you could have fun with it. I'm writing this down, but you run the risk of writing something now and then in 5 years, COVID comes back, or we find out that we already kind of know this,
Yeah.
but that COVID was handled wrong,
Yeah.
shockingly,
Ugh.
but we find out to the extent we find out that actually, bear with me here, this isn't true. Or at least it's not true at the time I'm saying it. But say, for example, in 5 years, we suddenly find out that actually us isolating made COVID worse. Somehow that happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'd run the risk of your musical becoming very outdated very quickly. If you
Yeah.
wanted to take the same concept, you could set it during something like there's again, this is an incredibly niche piece of knowledge that I just have. And I forget the actual name of the town, but there was this town during the like Black Death,
Yeah.
um, that just isolated itself,
Oh,
like
I've
would
heard.
not let anyone in or out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can go and visit it nowadays. But you could write the exact same style of musical,
Yeah.
but set it like a couple hundred years in the past and have it set
Yeah.
then because we know how we feel about the Black Death. We know how we feel about this town because we know they saved a ton of lives by doing this.
Yeah.
All of that.
And you could
And you
almost,
would have, and people would go and watch it and say, this relates to COVID. This is how I
yeah.
feel about COVID. And be
Yeah.
fine with it without running the risk of it becoming outdated,
Yeah.
which is,
Yeah.
I think, what Annie does really well.
Yeah, and it's also like Annie's smart because when it was first coming out, it was also playing on people's nostalgia a little bit of like, so that's the
Yeah,
reason why they chose to set it in the 30s. They wanted to be nostalgic and write a musical about their childhood. But they also were
yeah,
like, there's like things are vibally quite similar. Um,
yeah.
so you have that going
It's
on.
stuff like why, when Newsies came to London,
Yes.
the reason why I think it was, or no, a better example of this is like Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
The reason it was so much more successful in 2022 than it was in 2012
Yeah.
was because they were in very different, I'm going to say economic periods. Because 2012, you'd had the 2008 financial crash, but you were coming back from it. It was getting better.
Yeah, and you had like
2022, it was
Obama.
getting worse.
You had like Obama
Yeah,
being elected. You had like these symbols of hope happening, and it felt like we were on the up and up.
yeah. 2022, everything was just kind of getting worse.
Yeah.
Like this, like what's the line in Made in America I'm thinking of?
The one that we talk about literally all the time.
Yeah. City
Um,
Hall is low on
little
kindness, but it
kindness, but
don't
they
run
don't
low on
run low on
flags.
flags. Like so,
There's
stuff like
there's another one I'm thinking of in that. It's about like stealing food and the price of food. There's a lot of lines in Made in America that are very good for this. You can't
yeah,
blame them. Who could have blamed them? Ain't their fault they turned to crime. A bar of soap's a luxury. Don't get much change from a dime.
yeah.
Like this
But
idea of everything's,
cause he lives.
yeah. You can't blame those kids for wanting to fill up their shopping bags. City Hall is low on kindness,
But
but
it
it don't
do.
run out of flags.
And what if I said Frank? What if I said Don Black, the writer of Aspects of Love, was really onto something with that?
But you know what I'm saying? Like,
No, I know exactly what you're
you know,
saying.
my point is, I think stuff that you set too modern can get outdated really quickly.
Yes, exactly.
And sometimes that can be a good thing.
Mhm.
Like, I think Bonnie and Clyde did kind of benefit from it becoming outdated in a way.
Yeah.
It has this very negative view of society. But in
Yeah.
2012, stuff was getting better. So it becomes outdated very quick. But by the time you get to 2022, everyone has that kind of view. So it's fine.
Yeah.
Whereas Annie was just kind of, it works well, is my
But
point.
it's also like, I don't, when you were explaining the COVID musical, I was like, I don't want to see a musical about that. But then you were explaining the town that the Black Death, and I was like, I'd see a musical about that. Like, they're basically about the same thing, where it's like people at the time probably didn't want to see a musical about, Nixon and the Vietnam War. They wanted,
Yeah.
but they'll see a musical about times that aren't so just that aren't so different,
My thought on it is, and this is going to sound kind of mean, I think.
Yes.
I think we like to feel smart,
Yes, yeah,
as
100%.
in like if I saw a musical about COVID and it was about how isolation is affecting us, I'm like, yeah, I know, I've lived through it.
Yeah.
But if I see a musical about the Black Death and how isolation affected this one town, I'd be like, guys, this is just like COVID.
This is an
Guys, I've made
allegory
the
for hell, yeah.
connection. I've made the connection.
Yeah.
You
But
know?
it's also like, I think about this Patti LuPone quote from a couple of months ago where she was like, audiences are smart, like audiences are dumber and smarter than we realize they are.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's kind of everything on Annie. There's not a lot else to say.
No, we came up with a lot more deep thoughts about Annie than I thought we were going to.
Yeah.
Time to talk about something a little bit less smart. Annie 2, Miss Hannigan's Revenge.
Which I did not know existed until Esme like mentioned it right before we started recording.
I was like, yeah, so you know how we mock Andy all the time for like the concept of Love Never Dies. It's ridiculous to write a sequel to a musical. Well, Annie did the same. So I think the
Kind
concept
of it.
the concept of musical sequels is ridiculous to me.
I'm
The
not like entirely against it. I
No,
understand where the desire comes from.
I think if you've got something more to say,
Yeah.
maybe.
Like I'm trying to think of a good example right now and I cannot think of one.
Well,
Um,
I don't know. I think uh, having after reading the plot of Annie 2, which I'm going to explain in a moment, Love Never Dies has something to
yeah.
it, you know?
Listen, I think Love Never Dies is a shockingly good musical.
It has a lot more to it and a lot more twists than Annie 2, Miss Hannigan's Revenge. 1982, whilst Annie was still running, plans for Annie 2 were first announced with the hope of being on Broadway in 1983. There'd be nothing for years until 1988, with it not being a sequel but a continuation. That's a sequel, my man.
A sequel, I think, at least implies a plot, like a time jump.
Oh, there's a time jump. I think there's a bit of a time jump in this.
Then yeah,
So
that's a sequel.
it was a big deal. There would be a big advertising campaign. They would announce they were going to Broadway with a tryout at the Kennedy Center, and then they would like transfer to Broadway. It would be in the same sequel of Phantom, first coming to Broadway. People were not like buying into Annie 2 too much. It only had an advance of $3.7 million compared, like in the article. So basically, the New York Times did a write-up of what the hell went down at Annie 2, which was very interesting to read. And they were like, compared to Phantom, which had an advance of 20 million, Annie 2 was not looking too good. So yeah, it was a $7 million musical. Many people believe that Annie 2 could be just as profitable. Dorothy Loudon was set to reprise her role as Miss Hannigan. The plot would start at a women's house of detention in Greenwich Village, with Miss Hannigan in prison, scheming for her revenge. She soon escapes during a fire. Meanwhile, Congressman, again, what is it with the random political figures in Annie?
It's just kind of like crazy.
Like a part of Annie at this point. Meanwhile, Congresswoman Marietta Christmas tells Warbucks that it is illegal for an unmarried man to adopt an 11-year-old girl unless he marries.
I don't think that's true.
Annie will be removed from his custody. I don't think it's true, but we need a plot for Annie too.
Yeah.
He decides to hold a contest for a wife to see for any single woman interested in a bold middle-aged man with protruding ears and $900 million.
Jesus Christ.
See what I mean by this makes the plot of Love Never Dies seem like, I don't know.
I've always thought that the plot of Love Never Dies was not terrible. It's not good,
Compared to this, it's amazing though. Best thing I've ever
but
seen.
yeah.
Miss Hannigan reads about the contest and decides to make a disguise to try and get herself to win. The secret Miss Hannigan discovers another orphan who looks just like Annie and is trained to take over while Miss Hannigan pulls a switch with the fake Annie. And the fake Annie will choose Miss Hannigan to be the mother. Annie was planned to be killed at one point, and there'd be no other orphans, just Annie.
What the hell?
So, this Love Never Dies, I got nothing on this. Andy, I'm sorry for being mean about Love Never Dies. However, the plot was changed so that Miss Hannigan was given a one-way ticket to Argentina, but in scene 2, she would jump ship and go back to New York to plot her revenge. Charles Strauss was quoted as saying, "I did not want to do this show. I did not want to do the first one. I did not want this to be an expression of greed." Dorothy Loudon would be quoted as saying, "There was a time, this time there's a lot more responsibility on me. I wasn't getting much sleep and I would wake up every night sort of screaming." Apparently, like, little kids in the audience at the Kennedy Center run would just sit there and like actually not know what the hell was going on because they were just so confused.
Jesus.
Because they were like, what is going on? Addie's like weird. Addie's dying. This is traumatizing. A review of Variety would read, "Almost every ingredient that made Addie such a delight for both children and adults is missing." So yeah, it was scheduled to open at the Marius Marquis Theatre, but that would not go ahead. When it would be a disaster out of town, they were like, "Hey, let's actually just revive Annie. Like, fuck it, let's revive it, guys. Take your money out of Annie 2 and put it into a revival of Annie." And the producers were like, "Absolutely not, give me my money back." And that's how Annie 2 died.
Which is fair.
There is actually another sequel to Annie, but that one actually had a successful run.
And what is it?
It's called Annie Warbucks. It was off Broadway.
Oh.
And it's like kind of the same plot.
Apparently makes slightly more sense.
Yeah. Annie 2. Oh, okay. Sorry, I've just looked it up again.
What?
So Danny Warbucks' whirlwind search for fitting bride uncovers not only a plot by Doyle and her daughter Sheila Kelly to strip him of his fortune, but his true feelings for his longtime assistant Grace Fellow, a gaggle of little girls seeking parents, and Franklin D. Roosevelt return to take part in shenanigans.
It wouldn't be Annie without him.
It's so funny their insistence to keep bringing back Franklin Roosevelt into Annie.
I kind of respect it.
This one would actually play off Broadway.
In Annie 2 was Hannigan's revenge.
Yeah.
When he was like, "I'm gonna hold a competition to find a wife."
Yeah.
I'm like, no, get with Grace, obviously.
Yeah.
So yeah, this one makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
They listen to the criticisms.
And also FDR's there. So they would actually have a Broadway revival in 1997 with it happening for the 20th anniversary. The show would open at the Martin Beck Theatre and would literally be called Annie, the 20th Anniversary Edition. It would not be well received. Sutton Foster would also be there, unrelated. Sutton Foster would just be there. She played Grace. No, not Grace, sorry. Star to Be. You know, NYC, just kind of.
Oh yeah.
Sutton Foster. There's a clip of her doing it somewhere. So in a review for the New York Times, they would say, nearly 20 years after Annie first took Broadway by storm, director and lyricist Martin Charman helmed the first ever mainstream revival at the Martin Beck Theatre, opening in 1997 to tepid reviews and a whirlwind of controversy. 12-year-old Philadelphia native Jonah Pesiti won the title role of Annie after a worldwide search crowned by the original Annie herself at a press event. Weeks before opening night, however, Tracy was fired and replaced with her 8-year-old understudy, Brittany Kissinger. Do you want to know why she was fired? Why was fired? She had tuberculosis.
Jesus Christ.
She would go on like NBC to talk about being fired, and she would say, "I don't want this to happen to any other little girl." So the controversy with this revival will continue with Marisha Lewis, a white actress who would appear in a TV ad for playing Miss Hannigan, rather than the revival star African-American Tony winner Nell Carter. Carter spoke to the New York Post saying, "It's insulting to me as a black woman
Right, don't scared by the name.
You're
I was just every time someone has the same name as me.
like, oh, that's my name and my name only.
That's me.
The actress later recounted her statement in the Associated Press, claiming she never accused the producers of racism. The second coming of Annie would close after 239 performances, with the New York Times writing, the musical is set in a depression. Annie the musical is set during the Depression. The revival that opened last night may send you into one. Oh, New York Times. You guys can really be funny when you try. They're basically like, you guys need to get a new director. The guy who directed it originally and it wrote the lyrics is probably not the best person to do a revival.
Yeah.
Maybe we should get some new life in here. Saying, as a result, the revival is like a cake that's been sat at the back of the frozen icebox for too long. It's frozen stiff and impossible to swallow. Believe it or not, it would not last long and only last, 239 performances. It would then go out on tour with the main three reprising their roles. So Danny Warbucks, I don't have his name written down, Brittany Kissinger, and Nell Carter would go on the road. And then Sally Summers, Babette from Gilmore Girls, would take over as Miss Hannigan. Anyone has any clips of Babette from Gilmore Girls doing Miss Hannigan, please send them my way. So, the most recent Broadway revival of Annie is the 2012 revival. This time, a new director would come in, James Lapine. I was like, it's kind of like James Lapine is a good person to get to do the Annie revival. I mean, his biggest work is Into the Woods, Falsettos, Sunday in the Park with George, and the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee.
All great shows.
Bangers of shows. Makes perfect sense why you want him to do the Annie revival. Andy Blankenbuehler would do the choreography. It's very strange seeing little children, little orphans from the 30s, do Andy Blankenbuehler choreography.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Like, I don't really know how I feel about these little kids doing like Hamilton-esque choreography. Like, I was watching their performance at the Tony Awards, and I've been this is kind of unrelated, but I've been rewatching Kimmy Schmidt.
Oh, I love that show.
Just kind of had it on the background. And one thing about Kimmy Schmidt is that Tina Fey is constantly taking the piss out of the Spider-Man musical to the point where I kind of convince myself often that it's not like a real thing. It's just something Tina Fey made up. And then they had a bunch of people that played Spider-Man. I don't know, they had a bunch of Spider-Man introduce Annie at the Tony Awards. And I was like, this is weird. So, and then the little orphans started doing Hamilton-esque choreography. And I was like, this is weird. It would play the Palace Theatre with the reviews. This is what I've got the reviews for. The New York Times would say what you will about the current version of Annie, which is directed by a slight tremendous hand by James Lapine and features a volatilistic Kate Finnegan as the villainous Miss Hannigan. You can't fault its timing for its return to Broadway. It would seem that Mr. Lapine is hoping to induce at least a tincture of the psychological shading to the show. That is only and unapologetically a singing comic strip. In its first incarnation, Annie was an unstoppable sunshine steamroller. In this version, which flirts with the shadows, moves more snarkily. In 1997, Miss Hannigan was portrayed by Dorothy Loudon. Do you see? That kind of makes sense for Miss Hannigan, actually.
Yeah.
With equal parts Dickensian villainy and showbiz of Miss Finian, who two-time Tony winner, makes more than a humanizing approach. As Warbucks, Anthony Warlow ventures into naturalism, inflecting his songs with unexpected emotional variety. A delicate featured, infamous Miss Crawford, who possesses both a garden glow and voice of brass, is pretty close to perfect in the title role. New York Post would say Lila Crawford is a short, likable, titles pint-sized pelter, but without overdoing the cutesy shucks pluck. She's matched with an ideal Danny Warbucks of Anthony Warlow, the formidable Australian making his Broadway debut. A madly gruff with a melty core and a smooth Bourbon voice. Director James Lapine gives a kitsch-free, elegant take, bolstered by Susan Heffrey's superb costume and David Korn's storybook set. Like, the set is really cool. They had it like almost folding out, like the orphanage, like an actual book.
Ooh, I like that.
And they had Molly sleeping in a drawer. Donald Holder's evocative singing, evocative lighting. Then again, it's no surprise that Lapine, who wrote the book for Into the Woods, would take the material seriously. When Addie sings Tomorrow, holding Sandy, played by Sunny, a rescue dog, against a stylized.
Aww.
Apparently, the first Sandy as well was a rescue dog, like the original Sandy.
Aww.
I know. I just hope I like personally my dogs could never be on stage because they just get so scared.
I reckon my dog might be able to. I don't think she'd enjoy it.
But you know what? If a dog enjoys it, then I love that for them so much.
Yeah.
Sandy is a really iconic part of Annie. When Annie sings Tomorrow, hugging Sandy, played by Sunny, a rescue dog, against a stylized, dramatically lit Brooklyn Bridge, the scene is both deeply felt and beautiful to look at. There's a lot to love in this production, but maybe Miss Hannigan could have done with being a little less. That's the thing with Miss Hannigan, because I think the immediate thing would to be to really overdo her.
Yeah. Which I don't think is bad. Like, I think it's definitely an interpretation of the role.
Yeah,
I
but
think, again, it's kind of linked to everything we were saying about all of the Sunset Boulevard stuff,
yeah,
where it's like, I think it's really fun to have a fresh take on something. So,
yeah,
obviously, if I'm seeing a review and it's like, this is an entirely different interpretation of a role,
yeah.
I'm gonna be more interested in it than someone being like, this is just like everyone else who has played the role.
Yeah, yeah, and I really enjoy the fact that they got James Lapine to do it. The New York Times around this time would do what they do best.
Oh,
Make an article talking about which shows would fail.
oh God.
Because you know about once a season, the New York Times will sit around and go, what shows do you think should fail?
Yeah,
They've done their one for this season, saying it's too crowded.
shocking.
Because basically Annie, Matilda, and Cinderella would all be premiering in the same season or happening in the same season. So they were basically like, there's too many shows for children to go see. Not all of them can survive. I'm like, I feel like they've all got enough name recognition to survive.
Yeah,
In this revival, they would have Faith Prince and Jane Lynch playing Miss Hannigan at separate times, and those were both castings I went, yep, makes sense completely. Jane Lynch, yep, you should be at the Annie revival. And it would also have Sadie Sink as Annie. Then there would obviously be the 2014 movie. And my only note for that is I fucking love this movie in all caps.
I love the 2014 movie.
It girls, fun.
Nothing else to say on it. I just love it.
Yeah, like I have no actual intelligent thoughts about Annie other than it is just a good time. The whole subplot about her being illiterate, very interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think what we were saying earlier about is there like a new take you do on earlier? I feel like the 2014 movie kind of did that. It's not necessarily like a overly new take, but it's definitely modernized at the very least.
yeah, isn't like Daddy Warbucks isn't one named Daddy Warbucks anymore, and he's like some tech giant.
Yeah, it's also stuff like it's changed all of the lyrics in Hard Knock Life, and I think other lyrics are changed from them being orphans and being like in
Yeah,
an orphanage, being foster kids.
yeah. And like, what else was that? My only big pet peeve with the movie is that you don't get the orphans or the foster kids in singing "You'll Never Fully Dress Without a Smile."
Yeah.
Because I do really like that moment. I don't know whether or not because I love that moment in the original film, and also I don't like the fact that they just got Sia in to sing it.
Yeah, for some reason.
But yeah, Annie has performed like 700 to 900 times in the United States every year.
It's crazy.
And I reckon the
I
numbers are
think it's
probably
just a really
similar
good show
worldwide.
though.
It's a
Yeah.
good show, and it's the perfect show for kids to do. There is
I think we need
not
to revive it. We need a professional production right now.
there was a tour in the UK last year with Paul O'Grady.
Yeah.
It's just
That
one of
was
those,
like a few years ago now though.
or it's finished last year.
I thought it was a while ago.
No, because they did the big West End revival like a while ago.
That's true.
So that's probably what you're thinking of.
2023 tour, yeah.
But it's one of those shows that just comes about every so often and it makes sense why it does.
It's pretty timeless.
It is. Yeah. So
I'm looking at the pictures from this tour. It's very Matilda.
Yeah, because they had like the blocks, didn't they?
They've got like puzzle pieces all around the back. It's also the coloring is very Matilda. Not a bad thing. Again, not a criticism at all. It's very cute.
Yeah.
It's also just very Matilda. I think it's also the
Yeah.
color of the costumes, but
I don't know. When
whatever.
I when I do think of Annie, I do think of it as being a bit dark.
I think it's a deep subject matter, but I don't think it's very
Yeah.
dark.
No, like the design almost, like of the show.
Oh no.
I don't know, I think of the
I've
orphanage.
always thought of but it's always like bright. Like the orphans all
Yeah,
wear bright colors. Miss Hannigan wears bright colors. Daddy
yeah.
Warbucks usually wears a like dark suit, but his house is really bright.
Yeah, his house is always very bright and almost
And then I think it like again, it's very basic like color theory for the design. It's
yeah.
like the orphanage is dark and scary, but all the orphans are in bright colors. Even Miss Hannigan is in bright colors usually.
Yeah, Miss Hannigan's normally
Um,
wearing some kind of like really bright, long floral dress.
yeah. And then Daddy Warbucks is usually wearing a very like sophisticated suit, but his house is bright. Grace is wearing bright colors. And then by the end, he's in a brighter
White
colored
suit?
suit.
I've seen him in a white suit a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
I mean, it's not groundbreaking design, but it is cute.
And like at the end of the day, you always need a show to take kids to. There always should be shows to take
Yeah.
kids to. And that's what Annie does
Yeah.
quite well.
I think Annie should go into Drury Lane. We don't need Oliver there. We need Annie.
Similar stories in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah.
Oliver's a lot darker than Annie though, right?
Yeah. Oliver, they kill people.
Yeah, Oliver like
Like
Nancy dies.
Nancy dies.
I forgot that. And then I was talking to someone and they were like, oh yeah, then Nancy dies. And I was like, Nancy died?
It's not even she dies. She is killed
She
on
is
stage by her
murdered.
abusive
Yeah.
boyfriend. She's
Yeah.
murdered by her boyfriend.
Brutally. And they were like,
It's
Esme,
very, very deep.
this is like a well-known thing. Nancy's murdered by Bill Sykes. And I was like, I didn't know that.
That is Oliver, to be fair.
That's Annie. Um
Annie.
Annie. We made it through without doing any bad New York accents. If you want to
Yeah.
hear bad New York accents, go listen to our Newsies episode.
Would a strike settled?
What a strike
I better
done.
start hitting the road.
Uh,
What's
um,
Santa Fe got? The New York game.
the New York game.
Better yet,
Next
New
week.
York's got us.
Check what I'm right about.
Emily.
Amelie.
Emily.
I'm really excited to talk about Amelie. I love it.
It's one of my favorite musicals ever.
Really.
I love the film. I need
I
to.
do
There's this
like the
shop
film.
in the town I live in, which
Yeah.
has a poster of the like vintage Amelie film poster.
So
And I
cool.
really want it, but every time I go to buy it, it's sold out, and I'm really annoyed.
Is it one of
I
those
also
shops
just
where
don't
like
have the money for it.
that's so exciting. I'm so excited to talk about Amelie actually. I've been thinking about it. I watched the movie for the first time like in a while.
Mm.
This summer, last summer, and I really enjoyed it. So get excited for that. Don't forget to follow us on social medias and Mezzanine. It's fun over there. I love this.
Mezzanine.
Check our links, guys. There's work that goes into those. We will see you next week for Amelie.
Bye.
Bye.